They say podcasts are going to replace books. I don't know about that, but I do think TRS Clips will assist your learning process. How did it begin, sir?
So it begins with the German invasion of Poland. The Germans and the Soviets divide up Poland, roughly half-half. And that's when the declarations of war happened from the Allies. At the same time, Japan has been active in Asia. So the Japanese, in the 1930s, they conquered Manchuria, many parts of Manchuria. And then they had two options. There was one school of thought in the Japanese army that we should take the Eurasian part. I mean, they should go from the north. So take over Mongolia, take over parts of the USSR, the eastern part of the USSR, and go westwards from there. The other school of thought was go from Southeast Asia, from the sea route. So the Japanese fought in 1939, I believe they fought first the Mongols, and then Mongolia was a satellite state of the USSR. So there were some border clashes in Mongolia. Then there was a clash between the Japanese army and the USSR army. The Japanese were defeated badly. So the entire thought of going from the north evaporated. The Japanese decided to go south. So they started conquering Southeast Asia.
Like the USSR, why do they always win these battles? Like, do they have a historic, kind of track record of being a winning nation?
The USSR wins because it has inexhaustible territory and they are willing to throw as many men as necessary into the battle.
There's that movie, right? Something about snipers. Enemy at the gates.
Enemy at the gates. Was it Stalingrad? I think it was Stalingrad.
I don't remember the exact thing, but they've shown this angle of just forcing the average Russian civilian into war.
Yes.
Like, go and if you turn back, we will shoot you.
I know.
That was, I think, the mentality.
Yes.
So basically, lots of natural resources, lots of land, and lots of human beings.
Lots of human beings. And the willingness to sacrifice as many people as required to win.
Strong nationalism.
Strong nationalism. So the Japanese, they took over, they started taking over Southeast Asia. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, they came to the doorstep of India. So that's a different story that will come later. So the war happens in the Pacific also. It begins there, right? From Japan. They take over parts of China. There's a civil war going on in China this time. So they start taking over China, the eastern part of China. They do all kinds of atrocities in Nanjing and so on. There's a whole Asian angle to the war. Now coming back to Europe, the Germans and Soviets take over Poland. Then the Germans declare, so the British and the French declare war on Germany. USA is still not in this, right? Then the Germans, they do the same thing as they did in World War I. They go through Belgium and they punch through the French lines. They very rapidly take over Belgium and the Netherlands. The British have already landed in France. They are pushed back to Dunkirk. That movie, Dunkirk. And then they are forced to evacuate from there. The Germans have a new strategy. It's an ancient Mongol strategy, but they call it Blitzkrieg, lightning warfare. So they concentrate all their firepower in one point in the defenses of the opposite power, and they punch through it with lightning speed. They also have the Luftwaffe, the Air Force, massive, and the most modern Air Force in the world, the Germans.
I think we should sit on this topic a little bit. While war is all about atrocities, war is also about strategy. And any war strategy can often be applied in life as well. I'd love for you to break down Blitzkrieg a little bit and break down the power of the German Air Force, because I feel like that was a massive element of all the successes they gained during World War II.
So the Germans were always technologically advanced. They were innovators, right? So they developed a whole range of different airplanes. Stukas, Henkels, Messerschmitts, and these are some of the names that come to my mind. I've read this like when I was a kid. So they had all the most advanced aircraft, fighter aircraft for that time. And so that was one component of their military power. They had massive numbers of these airplanes. They had the most advanced tanks, the Panzer tanks for the time, very good tanks. So they had that, thousands of these tanks. And they had these strategies. The strategy was very clear. You are facing an enemy. You're facing fortifications. Don't diffuse your firepower. Don't strike at different places and try to punch many holes in the enemy's defenses. Concentrate all your firepower in one place, breach that wall, then just smash through it and advance at lightning speed. Hundreds of kilometers in a week. That's the kind of advance they wanted. And they achieved that.
What happens to the troops on the side?
They're left behind. And then they can be encircled from behind, outflanked and taken out. So that's the strategy they would use.
I think the business equivalent here is focus on one game at a time.
Focus on one game at a time.
Power
Focus on
focus.
one problem at a time. Solve that. You have to see which is the weakest point in whatever problem you're attacking. Look at that and solve that. So there are a lot of parallels between warfare and business and life. The same strategies and tactics you use in warfare can very much be applied in business and in life. You just need to know how to adapt those tactics and strategies.
Thank you for watching this clip. If you want to learn more about this topic, we've curated a playlist just for you, and here's a link to the whole episode.